Hello everyone and welcome to this free full video drum lesson from me, Rob, at drumsaword.com. I get a lot of requests for this song, so today I want to show you how to play the song Believer by Imagine Dragons, drummed by Daniel Platzman. Now what I've got for you is the free PDF which you can download from my website. You just visit the link beneath this video and you'll be able to download and have the PDF printed out in front of you. Now what I've got for you in this lesson is some insight into how it's performed live, as well as what you've got, as well as what you hear on the recording. I've written here on as a note, this chart is a combination of both the recording and live performance. Daniel has other drummers and backing parts covering his drum part live, and so this is an attempt to show you how you might play it live with just one drummer. I mean, you and your band, if you want to play this, you're playing along in your room, you only got one set of arms and one set of legs, so you can't replicate all the things that are going on. First thing to point out about this song is that on the recording, it's sampled drums being played. It's not Daniel actually playing the drums live on the recording. It's all sampled. But when they go to the stage, Daniel takes over that. But you may notice they've got a second drummer, the bassist or guitarist, I think, and he's playing the do-do-do-dum. He's keeping or maintaining that, and it's a great video which helped me to work out how I was going to teach you this lesson online. A Vic Firth drum video where you just see Daniel up close playing the part, and you can see very interestingly that he plays notes that you can't hear. In other words, what they've done is for some parts of the song the drums have been turned up, and then other parts they've been turned down, and Daniel is trying to replicate what you hear on the recording, especially when you've got the hi-hat starting to come into some of those grooves, and you see Daniel have to rush to the floor tom, or his massive kettle drum, I want to say. I'm on the spot, I can't remember the name of that big drum. It's like a bass drum turned upside down on its side. You can see him go to that drum and play stuff that you can't hear, which says that that's been turned down, and it's just the other guitarist, dum. In fact, I'm not sure whether they're actually playing to a click and there's some sample stuff going on. It's probably just all activated live on the keyboard somewhere. But the point is that even Daniel can't replicate this performance live. He needs the help of another drummer, and then he's also making mistakes when you see him play it live. But because the drums are turned down low, you can't really hear them. Not really mistakes, but not what you hear on the recording. So that's the first thing I want to say. The second thing is that in order to play this as one drummer, we've got to come up with some compromises. So there's sections in here where I've got a combination of both the live performance and the recorded version, and shown you how I would play it. I've seen other videos online, drum covers of this song, and they're trying to replicate exactly what you hear on the recording. And I think, as you see with Daniel, he doesn't. And I think for most drummers, if they want to have fun with this song, they're going to have to come up with some compromises of how to play it. So, saying that, let's get on to the first line. The intro, I've written in brackets tom rim. So, we're on a tom, the rim of a tom. I think when Daniel plays it live, he's up using his high tom, because that massive drum, which I've still forgotten the name of, yeah, I speak English. He's open-handed, so his left hand is actually playing the drum over here. No, he'll be playing it over. He's playing it like that, isn't he? Because I'm the wrong way around, so forgive me. It's a little bit confusing, but for most drummers, including myself, just because the hi-hat's over here, they don't let that put you off. A normal hi-hat would be over here, you'd be playing like this. Your left hand can come underneath the right hand and play that heavier floor tom part on your floor tom. You can just cross underneath. It's not a problem for that left hand to come underneath. If you've got a second drum over by the hi-hat, that's right, he plays it like that, doesn't he? The hi-hat's here, and then the other drum's here, so he's able to play open-handed. But we're going to have to play cross-handed. Even I'm going to have to play cross-handed, even though I mostly play open-handed. I'm going to have to cross underneath my right hand here to get to the floor tom. You can, of course, work out your own ways. You can also swap the hands around and perhaps play it left-hand lead instead. Whatever you find easiest, experiment with it. But here's how I would play it. Here's my combination of both the live and the recording. Starts off with, we've got, and I'm going to play the rim on this floor tom here, because I don't want to have to cross underneath my arm like this. And you're going to probably do the same. You're going to play the rim of the floor tom is the easiest thing to do. It leaves you open for your left hand to get around the drums nicely. So we get the first note, floor tom and bass drum. 1, 2, 3. So we got 1, and then the rim on 2, and the rim's going to be played on 4 as well. 2, 3, 4. On the recording, you do hear that it's actually a click effect. You do hear it played on 1, 2, and 4. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4. You actually get that rim click being played, or the clicks being played on beats 1, 2, and 4. But then when you see him play it live, he just plays it on 2 and 4. So that's my first combination of how I'd interpret it, how he played it live. So I'm going to keep it that way, just playing it on 2 and 4. Then on beat 4, we've got this triplet. 4 triplet 1. Left hand playing this. 4 triplet 1. And live, this is what Daniel plays with the bass drum. He plays the bass drum on 4 and on 1. So you can see it goes into beat 1. There's actually not a rim click on beat 1 there. So that triplet, 4 triplet, takes up the whole of beat 4, and then beat 1, the 4th note of the triplet, if you like, is actually on beat 1 of the next bar. Now, this is quite tricky for a lot of drummers to be able to play those 4 notes in a row. So you can simplify it. And I've got 2 suggestions for you. The first suggestion, which I actually used later in the song when we got the 2nd and 3rd note of the triplet being played, just to make it much easier for yourself. The first simplified version is to leave out the floor tom on beat 1. You've got that bass drum coming down on beat 1 for you instead, so you don't have to play that last floor tom note. You only have to play 3 floor tom notes in a row. So you don't have to play 4 in a row, you can simplify it like that. The second way to simplify it, and you hear this on the recording, but not when it's played live, it would make it far too tricky to line up, unless you're a Vinnie Collie user of some sort, to line up your hands and feet beautifully without messing it and making it sound sloppy. It needs to be really solid and groovy. The second idea is to replace the 3rd triplet note on beat 4 with the bass drum. And like I said, you do hear this bass drum part on the recording. Those last 2 floor tom notes are played with the bass drum. So we've got the bass drum falling on the 3rd triplet note and then on beat 1 of the next bar. But what you can do is you can take out the left hand part over the top of that. You can take out the floor tom part when you play those bass drum notes. Let me just show you what I mean. That's actually really nice. That's actually a lot simpler for me to play. You might find playing 2 bass drum notes next to each other like that quite tricky. 4 triplet 1. So you've got 3 options. You've got what's written on the charts. You've got take out the last floor tom note. And then you've got take out the last 2 floor tom notes and replace them with the bass drum. That's better. So what I forgot there is obviously there's a bass drum on beat 4 on the chart. You can leave that bass drum out, but then I decided to keep it in. So we get. So you've got those 3 options. Have fun with experimenting with which one you prefer. They all sound really cool though. But on the chart, we've got 4 bars of what I just showed you at the beginning. And then the vocals come in. So we're going to verse 1 on the 2nd line now. In brackets, tom rim. So we're still on the rim of a drum. And that version, or whatever version you decide to end up playing, is then repeated for 3 lines. And each line contains a group of 4. What I actually forgot to mention, going back to the intro, the first line, is that the first 3 bars are that pattern. It's actually a 4-bar pattern that gets looped. The 4th bar is simpler. We don't get the triplet at the end of the bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, I recommend you have the chart printed out for this lesson so you can follow along with what I mean here. You can see it on the chart. So that 4th bar is just simply that. And then it loops around, and then the next line, you do get the triplet on 4 for the first 3 bars. So it's a 4-bar loop. So let me just play that round. last bar. So then you go back to the beginning, the four bars loop again. So that each line of that verse 1 is just 2 groupings of those 4 bars for 3 whole lines. The last line, the very last bar, we get 1, 2, 3, and then beat 4 is rested. 1, 2, 3, 4, giving the next part a bit more impact. You've got some breath, some space here with the drum part. So notice that the last line of verse 1, we actually skip over beat 4. We don't play the rim shot, the rim of the tom on its own. As we go into chorus 1 then, we go to the hi-hat, and this is where, again, I had to compromise with the recording and the live version, and then perhaps come up with my own version to make it easier for you guys. I didn't want this song to be stressful for you to play it live. So what we got now for the first bar, floor tom and bass drum on 1, 1, 2, 2 is skipped over, snare and crash on beat 3, and then the hi-hat's going to come in. This is where you need to cross underneath. You'll be doing this, I'll be doing this. We get 4 triplet 1, 4 triplet 1. Again, you could play, or, so there's the 2 other options I talked about. This works for this. But your right hand now, after the first bar, we got a bit of a break. But then after that, the hi-hat is maintaining quarter notes all the way through on top. So the first bar, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then from then on, bar 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Same for the third bar, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And that fourth bar, again, we've got another 4 bar loop, is the simplified version. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then that idea gets looped for the second line, but it starts with a crash on beat 1. You hear it on the recording, you don't see him play it live, but you do hear it on the recording, so I included that crash cymbal on beat 1. The more important crash cymbal to play though, which you don't hear on the recording, but you definitely want to play live because it goes with the vocals, is on beat 3. So the first crash cymbal on beat 1 with the floor tom, 1, 2, and then I should go to a different crash cymbal for the second hit, 3. And that beat 3 is the more important one to include when you're playing live. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 4 triplet 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. You've got a little bit of working out to do. Again, if you want to play left-handed, then you've got some working out to do with how you're going to go about the kit. That second and third bar are the same as above, and then the fourth bar same as above. Then the bass drum starts to come in. By the way, when Daniel's playing this live, he's playing the hi-hat open slightly. He's playing it washed. I decided to keep it closed for this demonstration, but on the recording he's actually playing. So it's up to you. In fact, I recommend you probably do. You play it half open to give this section more power, but just for the sake of my ears and yours, I decided to show you. I'll be showing you it closed. But like I said, Daniel's playing it half open live. Not on the recording though. On the recording, you hear it as closed. Okay, so the third line is interesting. The bass drum starts to come in. We start to get some swung bass drum notes. We start to get some bass drum notes falling on the third note of the triplet in each beat. So that first bar, we've got crash and bass, floor tom and bass drum, 1 and 2. So that bass drum, that one there, is falling just before beat 2. It falls on the last triplet note of beat 1. 4 triplet 2, 4 triplet 2, 4 triplet 2. And we get the same at the end of beat 2. 2 triplets, 2 triplets, into beat 3, 3, 4 triplet 1. So let's do that again. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1. I like to count when I'm playing swung, the last note of each triplet. I like to count it as 1 and 2. I just lilt my counting, the 8th note counting, from 1 and 2 and into the swung version. 1 and 2 and 3. I'm not counting 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, all the way through in my head, all out loud. It's just a little bit too much. So we get how I would count it. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3. That's the first bar looped. Hear that bass drum, dum dum da 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 da. The second bar is a bit simpler. We go into the floor tom on beat 1 from following the triplets. 1, 2, 3 and 4 triplet 1. So the bass drum then falls on the third note of the triplet of beat 3. 3 triplet, or 3 and into 4, 1. And notice how I haven't included the bass drum on beat 4 for that bar, just to keep it simple. You could of course go 1, 2, 3 and 4 triplet 1. I played. You could, but you don't really need to. The floor tom is doing that work for you. You've got the bass drum leading into it, so I've decided for my version, I'm not going to play the bass drum on beat 4, but you could. 1, 2, 3 and 4 triplet 1. The third bar then is the same as the first bar. We get this more busy bass drum. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1. It's exactly the same as the first bar, except there's no crash cymbal on beat 1. By the way, that crash cymbal on beat 1 of the first bar, you don't hear it on the recording, but you do hear it when he plays it live. It's just you just want to play that crash cymbal on beat 1 there when you're playing live, but you don't hear it on the recording. So up to you whether you include it or not. The last bar was an interesting interpretation. When Daniel plays these bars live, these extended choruses, the third line of each chorus, he plays his own drum fill around the drums. He improvises. He doesn't stick to what's on the recording, really. There's a few moments which kind of sound like the recording, but what I've done for this bar is I've taken what I hear on the recording and shown you how you'd play it as one drummer. So this is my interpretation of the recording for this bar. 1, 2, how you do it? 1, 2, 3. So you've got to rush back to the snare drum there. 2 triplet 3. You might want to play 2 triplet 3 if you can't get your left hand over quick enough. Use the bass drum as the third triplet note to give you time to move your left hand over. However you want to play it, but I've got it written as this: 1, 2 triplet 3, 4 triplet 1. It's just bass drum and floor tom on beat 1 of that last line. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So that's what I hear in the recording. Dum, da 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 dum. But when you hear him play it live, he might play some triplet drum fill instead. So we might get not quite using that many snare drums. He's sort of playing double toms or moving around the toms in some way. Again, he improvises quite a bit for these drum fills, but this is what I hear on the recording. So there you go. The last line, it starts with that floor tom and bass drum on beat 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So we've got that break on beat 2, that crash cymbal on beat 3 going with the vocals. Hey! And then we're going back to the second bar. 1, 2, 3 and 4 triplet 1. So it's the same as the bar above it, and then the third bar is the same as the bar above that, and then the fourth bar, 1, 2, 3 and 4. That's what you hear on the recording. Just that one bass drum on beat 3, and no 4 triplet 1 going into verse 2. It's just a 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then we're into the second page. Before we do though, let's go back a stage. Let's play some stuff up to speed for you. Now, usually what I show in these lessons is I turn off my microphone so you can hear just the drums, but you couldn't hear the rim click, the rims of the drums if I had my microphone on. So I've kept them on for these recorded examples, just so you can hear my right hand on the floor tom rim for these sections. So what I'm going to do for you is I'm not going to play the whole of the page. There's a lot of repeating here. I'm going to play the last line of verse 1, which is exactly the same as the 3 lines above it. The last line of verse 1 into chorus 1, the whole of chorus 1, into perhaps a little bit of verse 2 on the second page. So we can hear how we go from section to section, played up to speed. Here we go. So on to page 2, and this is where it starts to get really tricky and where I really had to think a lot more about how I wanted to interpret this. Now, it is possible, we get to the trickier bit in this section. Let's just start with what we're actually playing here with our right hand on the tom rim. We're playing the second and third note of the triplets. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, or 1 triplet. It's the second and the third note of each beat. So that first half of the bar, we got the bass drum falling on beat 1, 1 triplet, 2 triplets. That 2 triplets a little bit tricky because you've got nothing on beat 2 to tell you where beat 2 is. You've got to feel the triplets. 1 triplet, 2 triplet. 3 is a bit easier because it starts with the left hand snare drum. 3 triplets. So we get to 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplets. And then beat 4 is the tricky bit and where you can do some interpretation of your own. Now what I've got for you is a simplified floor tom version, which we talked about at the beginning of the lesson. Instead of playing all 4 notes in a row and landing on beat 1 with the 4th floor tom note of the next bar, I found it much, much easier to play this pattern if I left out that last floor tom note. Now when you see Daniel play it live, he does play all 4 notes in a row, but there's still the du-du-du-dum, someone else playing it. So if he messes up a little bit and plays it a little bit sloppy, you don't really hear it. You hear the dominant du-du-du-du being played by someone else. So he's allowed to make a few mistakes here, but he is pretty good and he is able to play it. I just found that really tricky. And in the half an hour to an hour of practice I did before recording this lesson, I didn't feel comfortable and capable enough of playing it properly for you. So I've simplified it, and I think you're going to find this simpler as well. Instead of playing 4 bass drum notes in a row, we just simply play 4 triplet 1, 4 triplet 1, 4 triplet 1. So it's just 4 triplets, not 4 triplet 1. It's just 4 triplets, but it's lining up that right hand that made it tricky, and why this version is a little bit easier, I found. 4 triplet 1, 4 triplet 1, and you still got the bass drum playing on beat 1 to play that 4th floor tom note. It's hard to play it out of context on its own like this. Let me loop it around a few times, try and play it slowly. I'm going to make a few mistakes here, it's going to sound sloppy, but then that's just the way it goes. 1 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet. Okay, let me try without counting so I don't lose my breath and faint. Okay, now I'm starting to get it. Now just for a laugh, let me try and play the 4 notes in a row and you can see how much I struggle with it. Now I've got it. After playing and recording this for an hour or so, I'm loosened up a little bit and it actually doesn't feel so bad anymore. Maybe I should have recorded this next example. But there you go, that's up to you. You know the difference. You can play that 4th note. Let me try that around a few more times, see if I really have got it. That was sloppy, wasn't it? I've got it now, it's weird, isn't it? I can play it even faster. Now I'm losing it. So that was a sloppy one, that last one. But you can see that even if you got it around a few times, occasionally you might make a mistake. So you can play the 4 notes in a row. I've got for you the simplified version. It's just easier to line up those notes like that rather than go and have those 2 rim shots fall in between the 4 notes on the 2nd and the 3rd notes. But you might find it easier for you, it's up to you. Like the previously, we have a 4-bar pattern. The 4th bar is just a simplified version all the way through without any of the extra floor tom notes. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. So you've got to be able to feel that nicely, and the song is going to help you to play in time, but if you're practicing on your own, you've got to understand that those two notes are the second and the third note, not the downbeat, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So that pattern gets played twice, 2 lines, exactly the same. The 4-bar pattern gets played twice. That gets played twice. So now let me play it up to speed for you. A previously recorded version, which about half an hour before this lesson started, I recorded for you, which I thought was my best performance of it. Here's what those 2 lines sound like played together. So going on and the complexity increases, this is probably the hardest part of the song to play because the left hand then is going to come in and start playing some hi-hat notes. And this is a good example of in the video where you see Daniel come up with his own live version that isn't on the recording. If he was in control of the dum, then what would happen is that first note of the dum would be missed out because his left hand is actually playing on the hi-hat. You see him rush down to the floor tom, whatever that drum is, over here, when he plays this, but the other guy keeping the dum going, you don't notice the missing notes. But we're only one drummer, so this is my interpretation, how we can play it with just yourself on your own. So what we got is the hi-hat being played on beats 2 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. That's without the dum bits. It's actually a little bit easier in a way because your left hand is then telling you where the right hand should be playing. The left hand is keeping the downbeat. So it feels like a bit of a flow. If you practiced right, left, left, right, left, left, this is just left, right, right, left, right, right. So if you got that down, it shouldn't feel too weird for you. It's just the coordination and remembering where your left hand's supposed to be at what point in the bar. So, then from beat 4, the tricky bit, we get 4 triplets. So it's just 2 floor tom notes. You could play the floor tom on beat 1, as we talked about, but I've written the easier version. It's already quite tricky. 4 triplets. That was it. My eyes are getting tired now. On its own, not very difficult, but in a loop, so let's try and loop it. I think you agree that sounds pretty good, and as a one drummer, it's your best interpretation of that section of the song. So that's what I got for you for that section. That gets played 3 times. The 4th bar is just a simplified version. That's the 4th bar, and it's a 4-bar loop. Just gets played for the second line. The 4th bar of that last line though, of verse 2, the bar starts with the bass drum, 1, and we come in with this build up. Again, this is the recorded version. I'm hearing the recorded version I've written down for you. When he plays it live, he might play something different. But on the recording, you hear 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3. Actually, on the recording, you just hear a single snare drum note, but then again, that's the live interpretation coming in, playing it as a flam, because that snare drum on the recording is really powerful. It's not played as a flam, but on live, you want to replicate that power, and I suggest making it a flam, and I think that's what Daniel does as well. He plays it as a flam. So it makes sense to loop the 2 bars together, bars 3 and 4. Oops. You can see that it's a crescendo notation beneath the da-da-da-da-blah, meaning it gets louder if you can sort of increase the volume. Let's try and play the last line. So we get and 2 triplet, 3, 4. 4 is rested, and then we go into chorus 2. So let's now play for you those 2 lines, lines 3 and 4, played up to speed, so we can hear what that sounds like. So moving on to chorus 2, and it's very, very similar to chorus 1, apart from, I dare to say it's identical. Line 3, I've noticed a little mistake on the chart, which I'm going to correct. Line 3, the beginning, doesn't start with a crash cymbal on beat 1. I remember talking about, suggesting at the beginning, when we did chorus 1 in this lesson, that you probably want to play a crash on that beat 1 because it goes with the song, but you don't really hear it on the recording, so I'm just going to make a note of that, so that I know to add a crash cymbal. You won't see the hi-hat on its own, but you can interpret it how you like, put a crash there or not. So I'm going to hazard a guess that it's exactly the same, it's identical. Yeah, it's absolutely identical to chorus 1. So that's nice, isn't it? Chorus 1 and chorus 2 are identical. So let's now move on to the 3rd page. After that last bar of chorus 2, we just get that hi-hat on beat 4, and then a single bass drum on beat 1. It's a quiet thump. So you could play with the floor tom on beat 1, but it's quieter in this section of the recording, so just play a single bass drum, I think. 1, 2. And we've got 8 bars of rest. And then the second line of the break, we come in with that tricky rim shot pattern on the triplets, making it a little bit trickier if you're not playing along to music, because you've got no hi-hat and no snare drum on beat 3, keeping your right hand in line with the second and third note triplet. So that first bar, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1. And I've again kept the simplified version, 4 triplets, instead of 4 triplet 1, it's 4 triplet 1. You can play it either way. Notice how I haven't included the bass drum on beat 4 either, because this bit's a bit quieter. This section feels quieter than the previous bits. So we get to 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3, 4. 3 and 4, that 4th bar are rested. Let me do that again for you. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're into chorus 3. Back to our hi-hat pattern, very similar to chorus 1 and 2, but we do have some differences here, so we go through each line as it occurs. Starting with beats 1 and 2, and what we got here is a set of 16th note triplets, so faster triplets. Each beat, we fit 6 notes into it. Again, it's a crescendo effect, we're building up in volume. So the way I count triplets, 16th note triplets, is 1 to 2 to ta, but at the speed of this song, it's very hard to count it like that. 1 to 2 to 3. It's actually sort of this tempo. Oh. Trying to keep time for you with the right foot there. Hi-hat foot. So that's all we got. Just beat 1 and 2, building up in volume. Going into what I've shown here is a crash cymbal on beat 3. Now on the recording you hear a snare drum and crash on beat 3, but there's no way your hands are quick enough to go from here to that. So and I forget what Daniel does live here. I think he does the same as me. He just goes into a crash and leaves out the snare drum, which sounds a bit weird when you loop it around, as you'll hear in a second, because you want to hear that snare drum on beat 3, but you can't. So you've got some options. You could end the build-up on the and of 2, or play the last 2 notes as bass drums. That's another idea. Try and get this round. 1 to 2 to 2 to 1 some options there. You can use the bass drum to help you get into the snare and crash on beat 3. I don't think it's that important. That's quite tricky as well. So you might just want to play it into a crash cymbal. No one's really going to miss it. So we get straight into that floor tom triplet on beat 4 after that crash. And you can choose to keep in the bass drum on beats 4 if you want, or leave it out for that one bar. It's up to you. So on it goes into bars 2, 3 and 4, and we've got the same ideas we saw on the third and fourth lines of the chorus 1 and 2, with that busier bass drum pattern occurring. So we've actually gone over these bars in the previous choruses. Let's go straight to the second line. It starts with that crash on beat 1. Have we done that before? I don't think we've talked about having a crash on beat 1 and a crash on beat 3 with that busier bass drum section. So we actually get, and again I just used 2 different crashes there just for effect. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4, 1. On it goes, the 2-bar pattern gets repeated for 2, 3 and 4. And then line 3, no crash on beat 1. We've gone over these bars before. They're very, very exactly the same as bars we saw in chorus 1 and 2. Bar 4, however, is another one of those drum fills that Daniel plays differently live. He doesn't play this, but I wanted to show you the recorded version, or as close to the recorded version as possible. So on the recording, you hear these toms falling on beats 2 and 3, with the hi-hat still being maintained on beats 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now, just because we've only got 2 hands, we actually can't play a hi-hat on beat 3, because the snare drum coming down on beat 3 is more important. So what I've got is 2 sets of toms for this drum fill. Ideally, I like to use the high tom or medium tom, and then the floor tom for the second set of beats 3 and 4. But that would mean crossing over my arms, as you'll see in a second, and it just meant that I was doing that for one part, and it was just really silly. So I'm going to use these 2 toms instead. If you haven't got 2 toms set up in front of you, actually it won't be a problem for you, because your hi-hat will be over here. You won't have to. You can work out your own version of it, but this is the version I suggest you try and play and work out how to orchestrate it on your own kit. We get 1 triplet, 2 triplets, and then same again, right, left, left, right, left, left. 3 triplets, 3 triplets. So you can see that the first 2 sets of beats we got up here on a 1 tom, and the second 2 beats are on a 2nd tom. Exactly the same sticking, but that beat 3 is the snare drum, with that bass drum starting on beat 1. And actually it goes into the next line without the bass drum. We end it on the 4th note of the triplets. So we actually get 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, going into the last line there. Do that again for you. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Back into the last line. So beats 1 and 2 are rested there for that first bar of the last line. And it just goes to the end of the song using bars we've done before. The song ends with just the bass drum on beat 1, or the bass drum and floor tom if you're playing the 4 notes in the row version. And that's it. So before we finish, let me now play for you probably the trickiest part of the song. We've got the most changes occurring. I said the was the trickiest part, but this is actually a little bit trickier because we've got so many changes occurring. Let me play for you the second line, starting from the second line of the break, going through to the end of the song, so the whole of chorus 3. Here's what that sounds like. So I hope that all made sense for you. I hope that you're happy with my interpretation, and that you are happy to accept that this song being mostly electronic and even Daniel himself not being able to replicate the performance live. And then also him having a second drummer, so then how do you interpret it as a one drummer song setup? I hope you're happy with my interpretation of this. If you've got any questions, though, feel free to email me, rob@drumstheword.com, or come over to my Facebook page. That's the best place to connect with me. I also like to hear song suggestions from you guys. Facebook is the place to do that. I can never promise any songs, but I'm always interested to hear suggestions, and I keep a long list of songs that have been suggested over the years, and I sort of prioritise based on which ones I'd like to do, which ones are popular. By the way, that's another thing. If you're going to suggest a song, be aware that unless it's a popular song, I'm probably not going to record a lesson, because this is what I do for a living. It takes a long time for me to interpret, write the chart, record the lesson, edit the video, upload it. And if it's a song that no one's going to be interested apart from yourself, perhaps, or a few people out there, then it's not worth my time in the nicest way possible. So if you're going to make song suggestions, please consider them to be popular, or at least relatively popular. They're more likely to be done, more likely to be I'm more likely to do a lesson on them, is what I'm trying to say. You might also want to consider signing up to for my website, drumstheword.com. This is what I do these lessons for. This one's a free one today, but all my other lessons, I've got over 250, I think it's 270, 280 full video song lessons just like this. And if you sign up for a $97 subscription, that's how much it costs currently, you get a year's instant online access to my website, which gives you access to all of my video song lessons, teach you a song from start to finish. You get the full PDF drum chart just like this. Don't forget to download it, link beneath here. And then, as a thank you for signing up, I also give you hundreds of little videos I've done over the years, plus 3 huge ebooks containing hundreds more famous beats, fills and solos that I wrote some years ago now. I just give you that as a thank you for signing up. And then over the year of your subscription, you also gain instant online access to every single new lesson I record for my subscribers. So I'm doing about 2 or 3 lessons a week at the moment. And so you'll be getting instant access to all those songs over the year of your subscription. So you've got more songs to look forward to as well, not just the ones in the database. So if you've got any questions, feel free to email me, rob@drumstheword.com. That's my little sales pitch done now. I'm going to go lie down with a cold flannel over my head and have fun. Until next time, toodle pip and happy drumming to you.